A lot of people hate me because I don't like any of the new Generation 9 Pokemon that have been revealed so far outside of the starters. But that doesn't mean I'm throwing away the entire generation for being completely worthless, because when setting up this video, I realized something. There's a Pokemon from every generation that I'm disgusted by. I hate its design. Why does this thing even exist? But I end up using it competitively anyways because it's really strong. And since we also get like competitive elements of the newly revealed Pokemon, we can see that some of these Pokemon are going to be really strong. Now, my biggest gripe with the Generation 9 Pokemon design so far is that really none of them feel like Pokemon. They feel like they're from a different franchise, and to a degree, like Chinese knockoff Pokemon, or Chinese knockoff of non-Pokemon franchises. So Titan seems like it's from a Chinese ripoff of Monster Hunter. Ceruledge and Armarouge, I just don't like the humanoid Pokemon designs, and this really feels not Pokemon. Like, I'll admit, Ceruledge is a cool design, but from like Mega Man or any other game but Pokemon, Cyclizar and Koraidon, their designs are weird. Miraidon, I don't like it. Grafaiai is just an abomination. Klawf is a Giga abomination. Fido's an ugly man-face looking puppy that isn't even a cool looking dog Pokemon. Lechonk is getting carried by its meme name. Palmy's a nothing blob of a Pika clone. I guess I don't have too much against Paldean and Wooper. And Smoliv, again, a nothing blob. Now, I feel like Smoliv is going to get the ambiguous grass-type Pokemon treatment competitively, in being that it's not super useful, like Eldegoss or even Jumpluff. Now, I like using Jumpluff, and I actually don't have any problem with its design. I think the Hoppip evolutionary line is pretty cool design-wise, but you don't really see it that much. Palmy and its evolution is going to be whatever. Lechonk, this feels like it's going to be a Thievul. Same thing on Grafaiai. Like, just middle Pokedex Pokemon that actually don't do anything competitively. But Klawf has a built-in Shell Smash. So if this thing has like the right bulky stats to where it Shell Smashes, Anger Shell pops off, it's just going to be Crustle, but +3 instead of +2. It's going to be really strong. I don't think I'm going to use it, but that's what happened with Barbaracle. And that's also why I want to break down the movesets of some of the Pokemon I've used, just kind of show why they're so ridiculous. So if you've been here since the Generation 6 days, 1, leave a comment so I know you're still alive, but 2, you might remember the Barbaracle era where I just swept. Barbaracle is actually the inspiration of one of my most highest viewed videos, which is like Pokemon that can 6-0 sweep, because it can. You have alright stats, like taking a physical hit, especially in a game where Talonflame existed and was very prevalent, was very nice to have, but then 105 attack and a not trash speed. You double 68 speed, you don't even need a Jolly Nature, and you are going to be running away with the speed tiers. Tough Claws makes it to where 1 Shell Smash is all you need to wreck through anything, and then it had really good coverage. The only issue is that it's a 5 move slot Pokemon. I never settled on coverage. It's like, oh, Fairies are new, Sylveon was oppressive, Poison Jab. Yeah, it's going to be pretty strong. Razor Shell, also just bread and butter, synergizes with Tough Claws, but then Liquidation came out, so it get even better. And then Night Slash being a contact move for coverage. Focus Sash means you guarantee the Shell Smash setup, and even like in the face of Megas, you're just outspeeding every Mega and one-shotting them. You really only had to worry about priority, and there was a lot of it. Sucker Punch was pretty common, Mega Lucario has priority, Kangaskhan has priority, Talonflame had priority forever. So actually Barbaracle kind of getting buffed and stronger after the Gale Wings nerf. But overall, like, yeah, this just ran through everything in Generation 6, and I really enjoyed using Barbaracle, and I used it a ton. As time went on, and as generations went on, there was also kind of, like, development on this. You can go White Herb Bulk, where you just kind of play into whatever speed tier is popular at the time. Maybe this needs less, maybe this needs more in Generation 8, who knows? But you still go Adamant, max out the attack, try to get as much damage, and this isn't a moveset, but just kind of shows the ideas, where White Herb, yeah, that means now you just tank the hit, and it gets even sillier. Liquidation, it's just going to be a stronger Razor Shell. Even that 50% chance to drop kind of like swung some tank matchups in a really weird way, or made it to where like the +0, we go Razor Shell, defense drop, Razor Shell, and that found KOs in some situations, or just like Shell Smash, Razor Claw into whatever Pokemon. Earthquake, even though you don't get Tough Claws, it was just a really solid option. And that was like the weird thing. Rock Slide, just being splashed in on a Pokemon, has so many weird effects. Like, yeah, getting the flinch is really cool. Also, that just like messed up everything I just had set up. But Rock Slide just has such low base power that, okay, Stab is pretty much an Earthquake, and neither of them benefit from Tough Claws, and Earthquake just crushes everything. So we had that, and then like Cross Chop and some other options where it's like, ooh, I really don't like that accuracy gamble, but man, if the Tough Claws Cross Chop lands, that's gonna be a GG. Going into Generation 7. Really, all the Ultra Beasts are ugly designs, and that was intentional. There's even interviews from Game Freak saying we wanted to deliberately make otherworldly, warp time spacey Pokemon that weren't Pokemon. So we went with very strange design elements like jelly glass and buffed bugs. So I don't think really a lot of these designs have much favorite, except for like Poipole, because it was kind of meant to be a mythical, somewhat cute in there, but still Ultra Beast. But everything else is just like freaking weird, and some of them are way too weird for me. Like Celesteela still creeps me out to this day. Everything about its design element is super unsettling. And then I ended up using it, and once again, ended up being one of my ace Pokemon for the Sun and Moon era, because Totemize, Heavy Slam, Earthquake, Flamethrower just obliterates everything into the Beast Boost, and once again, just a 6-0 Pokemon that is oppressive. And the funny thing is, like, okay, Totemize loses 100 kilograms. Celesteela is the heaviest Pokemon in the game at a maxed out 999 kilograms, so even after Totemize, you're still getting full Heavy Slam damage on pretty much every competitive Pokemon, or a strong Heavy Slam damage classification on Stab Iron Plate, and then Beast Boost potential +1s or whatever. It didn't matter. So people were like, oh, look at it, the anti-synergy. I'm like, but this is still just one-shotting everything. So I ended up developing one of the best movesets ever. And then, yeah, Heavy Slam, one-shot, and then Earthquake just gives you the stats. Flamethrower was only there for Ferrothorn, and depending on like how Ultra Beasts end up getting implemented in like a terastallizing meta, which is actually really spooky when you think about it, because you can change the typing and then make the beneficial matchup for the Beast Boost, and then just snowball oppressive KOs. Also, into Megas, this was just ridiculous, because you Totemize over everything, you have crazy natural bulk, you try to, again, hit speed tiers, max out damage, one-shot, snowball Beast Boost, still too tanky to get one-shot, or even two-shot by most Pokemon, and then you just have great coverage, and Ferrothorn doesn't get in your way with the Flamethrower. Now, if like Ferrothorn terastallizes out of the Flamethrower, then you don't really need this. Like, really, if it drops this, actually no matter what typing it drops, if it drops Steel, you Heavy Slam, blow it up through the grass, and if it drops Grass, because it wants to just like keep immunity to poison and not getting Toxic stalled, well then Earthquake is still going to obliterate it. So I don't know where this goes now, what we do with the extra move slot on Celesteela and potential terastallizing. Also, Tank works out really well. I ran effectively this in... I ran this for a bit to kind of like complement Hippo and stuff, and then I even brought out like Tank Celesteela for Pokemon Sword and Shield, which was pretty cool. Now, Celesteela loses the Toxic, but then we just ran Ingrain. And you can Dynamax it. Like, if your opponent Dynamaxes, you just Dynamax on Celesteela and eat everything that isn't electric, because then that starts getting really spooky, and that's what Hippo's for, and some other switches and synergies. Yeah, and then like now you're just healing an 1/8 of your health, plus a 16th, plus a 16th. You're getting 1/4 of your health back every turn, and then you protect, and you're getting half your health back while draining the opponent. And then you still have crazy Heavy Slam damage, and you're just too tanky for anything to deal with. So I think Celesteela's introduction into competitive Pokemon Sword and Shield got very toxic when it first came out, because everyone would just plant like the fattest Pokemon on their team, and you really, if you didn't have like Dynamax, Electric, or Fire, you were having a very bad time. Phalanx is a Pokemon that I'm just disgusted by. I'm like, this thing is stupid, shouldn't have ever been a Pokemon kind of thing. But I liked running the No Retreat because that's really neat. That's a nifty Pokemon right there. Unfortunately, some Pokemon are just allowed to be good while others aren't, and Phalanx got the bad end of that. Sometimes you look at like the gimmick and you go, wow, why did Game Freak allow this just to be the best Pokemon ever? And then other times you have pieces of the best Pokemon ever, but then deliberately hindered by stats. Cool, you get +1 everything, but that just puts you behind like other just naturally strong Pokemon that also have their own gimmicks. We kind of saw this with Shiinotic. Yeah, Strength Sap was the strongest move in the game for when Shiinotic was first introduced, but only Shiinotic got it. 4x weak to Poison, Poison getting more common because Fairy's a thing, and then it's also Spore Pokemon, so it can't have any good stats. And then as we got into Generation 8, I hate Duraludon's design, and you probably would not have guessed that from how much I used it in Pokemon Sword and Shield, because I will say, this was the best Pokemon in Sword and Shield for Battle Spot. Hands down, case closed, that's it. Because you had the most powerful moves in the game. And there's always a drawback to this. Losing 50% of your health, having no accuracy, cutting your special attack in half, needing 2 turns to charge, just get rid of all that. You Dynamax, these moves get even more powerful, and then there's no drawback for 3 turns, and with Life Orb and your crazy 120 special attack and natural durability that's now on double health, nothing kills you, and you also have Steel Dragon, which is a good defensive typing. So, nothing touches you, and then you can do like whatever synergy you want. You either one-shot on Draco Meteor, one-shot on Steel Beam for anything that resists the Draco Meteor, Thunder for the weird matchups. It was more than Celesteela, and also when Duraludon came to base Pokemon Sword and Shield, Celesteela didn't exist, but Thunder still just crushed water Pokemon, which resist your Steel Beam. And then Solar Beam, again, another synergy to where you actually had to think. Like, you look at the opponent's team, you go, Solar Beam, well, that sets up the grass. Now you're actually healing a little bit, and now you get bonus damage on the grassy terrain. Same thing on the electric terrain. Now you don't fall asleep, and now you get bonus damage, and you're running outrageous damage moves, and then Life Orb, and nothing kills you, so you 3-0 pretty much everything on the battle spot. It's really cool. But once again, like, I hate this design. When I saw it for the first time, I'm like, why? Why did... It's not a Pokemon. It's just a thing. And I know, like, object Pokemon memes, but even going back to Generation 1, there's more heart and value to the Pokemon's existence in the world, and it makes more sense than however Duraludon just came into being, and then its Gigantamax was awful. So yeah, like, kind of going into that, there was an ugly Pokemon from every generation, and this just seems busted. Also, I called it Ghost-type move because Bitter Blade, that steals effects and kind of plays into the Ghost-typing, feels like a Ghost-type move even though it's fire, so hopefully my brain fixes that by the time it gets used everywhere competitively. Because when you look at this thing's going to be a fast sweeper. It's going to have like an unacceptable amount of speed, an unacceptable amount of attack, and then it heals on a fire-type move. It's going to have a better leech life, and even the other one is also really strong, and it's going to have crazy synergy, and then it gets Shadow Sneak, and then it just wrecks everything. Also, it can Terrastalize to get rid of weaknesses. So, this Pokemon is going to be outrageously devastating. It does have a lot of weaknesses, so at least it's like a faster Chandelure, but physical, which is also really scary to think about. Going back into other ugly designs, like Dracozolt, Dracovish, again, abominations. All the fossil Pokemon from Generation 8, horrific, should have never existed. I don't care about Fossil Wars, that's just the dumbest cope I've ever heard. There's no justification. People are like, but Grafaiai has the thing, and it looks like a Tagger. He's got a hoodie and the gas mask, and his fingers are long like an eye, but he looks like he's holding paint. Okay? Just because there's inspiration doesn't mean it's good design. It's still ugly. It's still a shitty design that should have never made it past any kind of quality assessment or anything like that. Same thing for all these other designs where it's like, but Fossil Wars, but it's just horrific. Even like, and then you look at Arctovish and Arctozolt. The Pokemon are miserable. All they do is exist in pain. Its head is upside down and screwed on backwards for no reason. That thing's just missing the rest of it. And then Dracozolt and Arctozolt are just having a horrible time. So what if they got competitive usage? But they also got competitive usage, which kind of ties into this. So yeah, just because a Pokemon's ugly doesn't mean it's not going to get anything, but man, like Klawf more ugly than Barbaracle. How? Fidough probably going to fall through the cracks like we saw with Bolthound. Bolthound having like the most niche usage and being possible. Cyclizar's got Shed Tail, which is going to be giga busted. Can't use legendaries, and we have to... The jury's out on the starters if they're going to be salvaged or ugly and horrible. I really like Inteleon and Cinderace. Those are really cool Pokemon designs from Generation 8. I don't really care about any monkey Pokemon, so that's just going to be Rillaboom. But I ended up using Rillaboom because Grassy Glide on grassy terrain was busted. So yeah, you can kind of just put pieces together. So far, I haven't seen anything I think I'm going to use because I usually don't go for like super edgy sweeper Pokemon that just like end up getting picked for the sake of being picked because they're strong. So Titan, I think there's just better tanks, especially like Terrastalizing and like my strategies. So even if it is a broken Pokemon, I think I'm going to stay out of it. I don't care about the Shell Smashing on Klawf as much. And everything else just doesn't look like it's going to be that great. Because we have, like, Greedent that's not going to get much usage. And like I said, just the Pokemon that are going to kind of fall through. So, yeah, there we go. Just kind of breaking down the new Pokemon designs and a realization that I had that, like, yeah, I'll still use ugly Pokemon. Man, there's so many of them in Generation 9, I can't even build a team. So, hope you guys... there's too many to just build a single team for. So, if you guys enjoy the video, hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.